Ryan Mead is a singer-songwriter from Sydney who may be 18 years of age, but he's already racked up quite a few musical credits, including the Talent Development Project last year. He has just released his debut single, Tangled Up in Wranglers, which I am finding quite addictive because I can't stop playing it because it's fantastic. And I'm going to talk to him about it. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Sophie. How are you doing?
I'm great. This song, there's just something about it. I keep hitting repeat to the point where, as I said to you before I started recording, I didn't notice you come into the Zoom room because I was listening to it again. So I'm going to start with the song. Where did the inspiration come from?
Yeah, the inspiration for that song came from actually my time in Texas. I absolutely love Texas, and I'm a huge fiend for those old honky tonks. Those kind of hardwood floored, neon light. There's just such an atmosphere to those places, and I kind of went, man, like, there's so many people who won't get to experience that. And I kind of wanted a song that could take a chunk out of that, and for those who aren't unlucky enough to get down, can kind of get a bit of the feel and the understanding of what a night at those places is like, about getting out and having a dance, and kind of just crowding around a little stick table and having a good time.
Yeah. So for people who haven't heard the song, Tangled Up in Wranglers is like a euphemism for dancing. Or another way, I
Yes.
think it's
Yes, I'll clear that up right now before anyone goes on with their meanings.
So how did you come up with that line? Because it is evocative for dancing.
But I mean, that was a little bit of it too. We wanted to be a bit cheeky there. So it was on face value, whether you thought it was something a little bit more promiscuous, or it was clothing malfunctions, whether you had trouble getting changed or whatever it was. It was, yeah, it rhymed well. I really wanted a play on words. I think that country music lends itself to puns in a lot of songs and lots of kind of witty names. So I wanted something a little bit cheeky. So that was kind of the thinking behind it.
Were you doing any kind of word association games, or it just popped into your head and you thought, yes, I have to do something with that?
Yeah, it popped in my head. I'd had the guitar riff. I've had that for ages, like a long time, and I never had really anything to do with it. I knew I really liked it. I knew the vibe and the sound that I wanted to take with that guitar part. But yeah, and then kind of it was put the chords behind it and what words work over, and what, can we use that riff as a melody? We can, and then Tangled Up in Wranglers just kind of fit perfectly over those notes.
I was reading that this song came to you fairly quickly, whereas most of your songs take a bit longer. They take days or weeks. I'm wondering, since you wrote this song, whether the subsequent songs have come a little more quickly than the previous songs.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, we're back to our normal. I wish it would. I really do. But no, I need to get better at that. But there's no timing method behind it. I wish I could like sit down and pump out 5 songs a day and really wade through it. But it's, I might start writing a song, leave it for 2 months, come back, write one, be like, oh, that was fun. Write another one the same day, and then not do anything for another like 3 weeks. It just depends.
I think sometimes they have to marinate though. You're right. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's every song has its time.
Yes. And that's it. And I'm always of the belief that it's like, if it's a song and it's going to be a song that you enjoy, you'll come back to it and you'll make something of it. Otherwise, it's probably for the best that it fades away.
I did read a post by you on your social media where you mentioned that because you've been playing a lot of shows and you still play a lot of shows, you have had the opportunity to road test some of your originals with live audiences, and so therefore it was market research for what to record and release first. Now, obviously, Tangled Up in Wranglers won. That suggests that there was a strong positive audience reaction to it.
Yeah, there was. It was a weird thinking. I have one original called Honky Tonk Friday Nights, which always seems to be the one the crowd likes the most. But I had no idea what I wanted to do with it to record it, and I kind of went, I really like this song as well. I wouldn't mind having that one up my sleeve. And it was definitely those two. People seemed to really enjoy it, and I think Tangled Up in Wranglers was just a cool first dipping toes in the water kind of thing. I knew what I wanted to do with it. I knew I could get the sound in my head and translate it a bit better. So I wanted to start with that, but yeah, testing songs on a road is for me like the number one best way to figure it out. I mean, you can play to friends and family, but if people get up and dance or people are kind of tapping their toes to it, you know that it's not just you that likes it in a sense. Like you get a tangible bit of evidence, I guess, that there's something to it.
Yeah. Have you ever had a song where a song you've written that you just love and you're thinking, yeah, this has got prospects, and then you've played it live a couple of times and there's been not the response you were hoping for?
100%. I think I always go like kind of undercover boss on it, where I won't say it's my song. I'll just slide it in, and I'll try and put it between two songs that I really like, um, to see. But yeah, there's been a couple, and I don't tend to play them anymore. Where it was like you play a song, you're like, it's just solid. I'll slide my one in, and then it dies out. Then it picks back up when you go to another one. You go, that might be enough of that one. Now we know. Like it's good to good to go through. So it doesn't happen too often, very luckily. But yeah, I just think it's such a good measure of figuring out whether you should keep writing it, whether you should build it up, or whether maybe it doesn't have the legs and time to focus on the other one.
So have you learned, therefore, as a songwriter, that sometimes you just need to let them go, that it's either not for that right time, or it's the time's never going to be right for them? Because I imagine it can be hard to think, oh, I've got to throw it out.
Yeah, no, all the time. I think there's some that kind of just slowly get away from you. Like you almost forget that you have them. But there's a couple songs that I've liked and other people have liked, and I've tried to kind of take it as far as I could, and it's you get to the brink of it all, and then you just can't drag it across the line. Then you're like, man, like that's a real shame. But then you rest it, and I mean, I still hold out hope with a couple of those that I've still got the chords and the words on my phone somewhere, and if I do want to come back one day, it's still there. So I never throw anything out, never delete anything. I just go, we'll move on to new things for now.
Yeah. Now, you recorded Tangled Up in Wranglers with Jai Perrybanks, and having seen him play live and heard some of his recorded music, I can see why he was the right fit for you. But why did you think he was the right fit for you?
But I knew straight away that I wanted this thing just soaked in steel. I play a little bit of steel myself, but not enough to really get by. But it is my favorite instrument. I really wish that I was fluent on it, but it's incredibly difficult to play. And I went, all right, well, I've got to find a pedal steel player. And at the time, I was yet to meet one in Sydney. And through a recommendation of another one of the kind of real key players behind this single, gentleman by the name of Tim Moxie, who helped with a lot of the vocals. He had done an album and got Jai to put some of the steel on it for him. And he said, you should check this guy out. You know, he's got social media, go and look at it. So we got in touch, and, you know, listening to what Jai did, especially for Tangled Up in Wranglers, I was like, yeah, like this seems like a good fit. And I called him, and then we started talking George Strait, and we started talking Alan Jackson, and I just went, he clearly knows exactly what he's talking about. I think this will work quite well.
So as you were in your formative years as a musician, were those the main artists who influenced you, or have there been others?
Formative years as a musician, yes and no. So I've been playing instruments since I could hold drumsticks pretty much. I've been a drummer my whole life.
Okay.
So my whole family were drummers. Used to play snare drum mainly. Like we'd go march and stuff, and on Anzac Day and kind of with brass bands. But growing up, I listened to not really country at all. I listened to kind of blues, bit roots. There was lots of Dire Straits on in the house. Bit of Sheryl Crow. So it was kind of like a little bit of country in there, but never quite at the full tilt of it all. And then when I started playing guitar, it was blues music that really grabbed me. And that was what I started learning on. And then I heard Chattahoochee by Alan Jackson. And at first I was like, that's a bit quirky. But then I listened to it again and again and again, and it just eats away at you over and over. And yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky that I got to start out with those 80s, 90s guys. I think that there's definitely worse country to be listening to for your first time. So I count myself as pretty blessed that was kind of the first experience I had, and it hasn't changed much since then. You know, George Strait, Alan Jackson, Keith Whitley, Vince Gill are still always the first ones to come on.
Mhm. So you mentioned that you played drums on Anzac Day and obviously in a marching band situation. I cannot for the life of me work out how anyone walks and plays an instrument, particularly drums. So how much practice does it take?
It's surprising. I remember as a kid, I think I did my first Anzac Day in the city when I was about 8 or 9.
Oh, wow.
But I remember growing up kind of sitting on like the fences they put up and going, like, wow, this must take so much practice. Like, I wonder how all my family does this, you know. And then they all rock up, they're barely awake, and they just seem to do it, and you figure it out. And they go, put your left foot forward and try not to screw it up, and that's pretty much all there is to it. I wish there was a real method behind it all, but there you just figure it out on the job pretty much.
So obviously you did add to your repertoire of instruments because you play guitar. So drums were the first instrument. What was the second one? Was it guitar?
Yeah, it was guitar. As a kid, I tried picking up guitar for a little bit when I was about 7 or 8, and kind of gave it up. I think it was, really didn't have my head in it, but still remember I was about 14, and Back to the Future was kind of on cable TV, and there's that scene where he whips out the guitar and plays Johnny Be Good. And I came away from watching that movie going, I want to learn to skateboard and I want to learn to play guitar. So I tried both, and actually I broke my wrist skateboarding. Like first time try, I went, that's enough of that, and moved on to guitar. And then I used to kind of borrow, but sometimes I'd just nick the vinyls from my grandparents' house. And I kind of used their record library. So I had all of Sun Records, so all of Elvis, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis. And I'd sit down and we have, I don't think it's in, I was going to say if it's in this room, I'd show you. It had like a catalog guitar, like a real, I think it was like a $50 Audi type guitar. And I'd sit and I'd figure out the chords, and that was kind of how guitar just picked up. And again, it was an addiction. Like once you start, you just can't stop.
And then when did you start singing?
That was only about 18 months ago. Yeah, it was, I was playing lead guitar for a couple people actually, and then wanted to pick up some more gigs. And I was in a duo with a girl by the name of Jade Stegbauer, and the two of us, she's like, you should really, really sing a bit more. I was like, oh, like, yeah, I could try it. So, I just kind of stand as far back from the mic and just whisper, and over time I built a bit of confidence, and then I went, oh, this, maybe this is something I should give a real crack, and started doing a couple gigs by myself. And again, I guess a bit like marching, I went, I'll learn on the job. So I really feel sorry for some of those people on the first gigs, because I would have been really making it up. But yeah, over time it was like, let's just figure this out. And I think when I first started singing, it was a lot more kind of folky country, like that Zach Bryan-y, Jason Isbell stuff, which is still country, I guess. But then over time, it just developed into a real puristy, honky-tonk country.
So when you started writing songs, were you already singing, or were you writing songs originally thinking someone else would sing them?
Yeah, not necessarily thinking other people were singing them, but I was writing songs well before I could sing. And I'd kind of hum them out to flesh it out a little bit. I started writing without words, like just guitar, trying to write stuff down. And then when I should start adding words, there's not many people that want to listen to 4 minutes of 4 chords. So I went, oh, we'll kind of chuck some stuff on top of that. And over time, I kind of was singing it to myself, obviously, to flesh out how the songs go. And that was really how singing started, was actually writing songs, and then tried singing some of those Sun Records tunes that I'd known, because singing and playing at the same time was a bit of a struggle to come up with. And yeah, then over time just kind of went from there.
So I've heard of the Talent Development Project, but I don't know much about it. So this was something you graduated from last year. So can you tell us a little bit about what it is?
Yeah. So it's backed by the education department, and essentially they open up auditions across New South Wales for anyone pretty much between year 9 and year 12.
Mhm.
But it's really aimed for more year 10, but 11 and 12 students. And they kind of narrow it down through stages. So it starts off with about all these open people in the first phase, and they cut it down to about 50, then about 20, and then they end up with somewhere around the kind of 10, 12 mark. And that's the graduating class each year. So yeah, I had auditioned, and I was just singing when I auditioned. But I went in as a songwriter, going, well, you'll sink or swim here. Like, give it a bit of a red hot go, and we'll just see how we go. And there's so many talented young musicians from all genres that, like, I just got to learn so much from everyone, and they have wonderful mentors come in. The program's got some really amazing alumni, especially in country music. There's quite a few heavy hitters that came out of that program. So it was like, well, you'd be in good company if you could find a way to make it through. And by a good bit of luck, they ran me through the whole program, and I was very lucky to be able to do the whole thing and to get the full experience. And we got to do some recording, we got to do some performances, and meet some really amazing people. So the program's great. It's, if there's any other young musicians listening, get your name in. It's just such a great way to make contacts and peers across all genres. But yeah, it's just a really, really great program.
And also get lots of playing experience by the sound of it, because you've got to do some live performance.
Yeah, that's every time you're there, you're playing 3 or 4 times in front of, all of your peers, which can be much more scary than doing it in front of strangers too. Like, you care for their opinions. So yeah, they'd push you to try different genres and to write and keep writing, and you'd have deadlines, which I think was a really interesting experience for someone to kind of put a rocket up you and go, come on, like, hop to it. So yeah.
So it sounds like that was really good preparation for your next educational adventure in music, which is Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, I would imagine this is quite a competitive institution to get into.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that that opportunity's been presented to me. I'm very, very, very humbled by it all. But I was over there in 2022. I did a 5-week summer program over there, so I took a bit of time off high school to go over and study. And I had gone Nashville for a couple of days on the way in to connect to Boston, which was really like the country's the way we're going to go. So I went to Berklee really kind of starry-eyed about, I'm going to do their country music, and I read about that they had good country music, and I was like, it's amazing. And I got there and I go, oh, we don't really do that in the summer necessarily. I was like, oh, that's a real shame. What do you have? And they said, well, we've got bluegrass. And I was like, cool, like, what's bluegrass? So I went and I auditioned for bluegrass, having not known too much about it, and got into their little ensemble there. And then towards the end of the program, all my mates who were American were auditioning, and it was a Saturday and I had nothing better to do. And it was free, so I figured I might as well go in and give it a red hot go. And then thought nothing of it. And then a little while back got an acceptance letter. And then I was like, oh, that's great. But obviously going overseas financially is quite a burden, and kind of set it aside, but had never really read the acceptance letter that there was a scholarship included with that acceptance letter. So it was about 2 months after I had actually read that I got in that I realized that it was something we could look at and really consider. And then over time, we went, what an opportunity.
Yeah, amazing. So is that like that's a college degree? Is that 3 to 4 years?
Yeah, it can be. So at the moment, I'm unsure of how long I'm going to go for. Whether I might go for 12 months or I might complete the whole degree. At the moment, it's looking like I might just go for the 12 months and come back and try and make those networks and really spend 12 months trying to dial everything up and get better at playing, get better at singing, and then return a little bit. But I'll play it by ear while I'm over there.
Well, especially because if you do the duration of 3 to 4 years or whatever, that might take you away from playing live in lots of different places, which is what you're doing already. Which is my way of introducing the fact that you very recently when we're talking played Night in Nashville in Orange in Central West New South Wales. How was that?
That was amazing. That was a great night. And we very honored to be in such good company. We had some amazing artists on that night. Max Jackson headlined the Friday, which was when we were on. Um, we were joking that we were very fortunate. We were first cab off the rank to play, which was actually a bit of a blessing because then we got to sit back for the rest of the night and got to watch everyone and got to have a great time. But yeah, that is such an amazing event. They took great care of us up in Orange. We all kind of drove up as a band and just had a blast on the drive up, on the sound checks, on the playing. Just really had an absolute time.
And who is in your band?
That it's a rotating roster to extent, but I've got on bass a gentleman by the name of Max Ogle, who I met through talent development program. He was in the house band there, um, and just was a killer player. And I went, cool, I'll reach out to him. So he's been playing with me for a couple months now. And then I have Jake Wilson on the guitar, who he's been offering me guitar lessons here and there for a good little while now, and has been a real mentor in getting me into country guitar and doing those things. He's played for a couple of country artists. I think he's done a bit of work for Luke O'Shea, him in and around. So he's normally playing lead guitar for me, and then on drums, I've actually got my dad playing kit. So he, like I said, family of drummers, and I was kind of getting fed up that he was so busy with work. He was doing 1 or 2 musicals a year, and that was all the drumming he was doing. And I was like, nah, pick it back up, come and do this. He always wanted to be in a band, and it has some serious playing chops. Like it's not a sympathy hire. Like he can really play. So that for me is just so cool, being able to hit the stage with your dad and get up and do what I love. And now he absolutely loves it. So I love seeing him playing again. I love seeing him happy to play again. And then it's just a real treat and honor to get to play with the family.
Yeah, how fantastic. So I'm wondering if he's in the band that's playing with you at Jolene's, which is in Sydney CBD, right in the heart of it. For people who don't know, it's on York Street. It's a country music bar. You have quite a few dates. You've played a couple already. You have more coming up. So is Dad in the band?
Dad is in the band on all of the gigs. So he comes in and we all have a great time. It's we've been really waiting to get into Jolene's. I recently turned 18 in December of last year. So with inner city licensing rules, we just couldn't make anything happen. And then I was away kind of at the start of the year. But when we got back, it was like, let's get in there and let's get in there often. And yeah, Simon and Lucy, who own Jolene's, are just two of the loveliest people. Regardless of the music, it's just a great bar to start with. It's incredible. Aesthetically, it looks like it's straight out of Nashville. The selection of American bourbons and beers that they manage to get into the country still bewilders me. But then they've become a real hub for country music in the city and around Sydney, getting bands playing, which I guess, in Sydney, sometimes we don't get to see too many country bands. We just get kind of artists by themselves. So it's been real fun. Like we just have a great time getting up on stage and trying to put on a bit of a show and have a bit of a party.
And you're also doing some solo shows there. I imagine that's a slightly different vibe, but maybe you miss the band. Maybe you wish they were there for all the shows. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird mix. I mean, I do majority of my playing still by myself in and around the Shire. Most venues aren't looking for a honky tonk band on a Sunday afternoon. So it's a balance. But yeah, Jolene's, it's a bit different actually by yourself. Like I try and still keep up the energy of having a band there and still keep it upbeat and up tempo and having fun. But I nothing beats playing with the band. I love getting to play a bit of electric guitar and love having mates to chat with and riff off. But yeah, playing by myself is still great. I'm doing a couple kind of slots before people at Jolene's. They're taking part in the Great Southern Nights campaign in New South Wales, which means I'm getting to meet some older artists who are doing really cool stuff and getting to network there, which is amazing as well.
Now you mentioned the Shire, that is the Sutherland Shire for those who are outside Sydney. And if you're a Sydney study, the Shire needs no explanation. You do play a lot of venues in and around the Shire. Did you play your first ever live shows in the Shire?
Yeah, I did. My first ever live shows was at a microbrewery called Sunday Road Brewing, which I mean we had visited a fair amount because Dad had really liked the beer at this place. And they had live music and kind of hadn't had it for a couple months. And we went in one day and Dad was getting a beer and I talked to the manager there and I just went, what do you reckon about we give live music a crack again? And they went, oh, we'll think about it. And after kind of convincing them after a little while, they went, yeah, we'll give it a go. Like we'll give it a go. And since they've been a real big player kind of in my part of the Shire with live music, every week they have live music and they put us up right in between the beer vats and it's a really cool atmosphere. But that was my first gig. And I always joke it's a little bit like a home field whenever you're there. Like it was the first place you played and it's just familiar and the people there are so lovely. And now that I'm 18, I can say the beer there is amazing as well. So it's such a cool atmosphere and it's just a great place with great people.
Yes, you have quite a packed gig schedule for March because you put that on your social media. And so I'm looking and thinking, well, obviously this is keeping you pretty busy. And do you therefore have shows coming up for April, May and beyond that you've booked in already? Yeah.
Yeah, April and May. I leave for Boston in mid-May pretty much, but up until then, I was looking at today, I think there's one free day that I've left to book between now and when I go. So it's going to be a hectic couple of weeks, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I think playing live is the best way for me to get better and to meet people and really get my name out there and try and get better at what I do.
So given that you are heading to Boston and you've just released your debut single, it sounds like you might have recorded some other songs though as well though. So you're going to continue to release music?
Yeah, that's the plan. I plan to record in Boston a
Right.
lot. They have some really great recording facilities at Berkeley, alongside with some American musicians who have been playing fiddle and playing steel their whole life. I think that some of those networks, I'd be silly not to be taking them up. So when I'm over there, I'm going to try and just record as much as I can and kind of put a lot in the backpack for coming back to Australia that we can consistently release, so we could do a little project and really flesh it out a bit.
Yeah. Well, for the moment, Australian audiences do have Tangled Up in Wranglers, and I'm sure people who start listening to it will get as addicted as I have been. So I hope you release some new addictive songs soon, if only so I can stop listening to this one because, in the meantime, people can check your social media for your gigs. Ryan, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.